everybody out there in YouTube. We are the middle-aged guys, and we're going to be bullshitting about another game streaming or rental service. I'm the Reverend.
The theme here.
Gray Mouse 1.
Just 2 days ago, on the 1st of March, Microsoft announced that they're going to be bringing to the Xbox One a service that they call Xbox Game Pass, or Xbox Game Pass. And basically, this particular service is going to be starting later on this year, and it's going to allow people instant access to over 100 titles in the Xbox library, a lot of them older titles, that they're going to be able to go ahead and download and play directly off the hard drive on their Xbox One. Now, this is just another service that's really, if you think about how game rentals used to be handled, okay, this is another rental or streaming or subscription service that's akin to things like GameFly or PlayStation Now. You have other PC clients out there like Steam or EA Access and a whole bunch of other things that are out there. So Microsoft is going to go ahead and they're going to throw their hat into the service, and they're going to make these all playable day one, over 100 titles available for you. Not recent titles, but older titles, things that you would find in the backwards compatibility portion of the Xbox One library for $9.99 a month. And at this time, according to the details, there isn't any sort of there isn't any sort of deal price for a year, or if you decide to get like 2 or 3 months, but they do leave it open that, hey, if you want to go ahead and do this for like a month, it's only $9.99. According to the details, if you lose internet connection because everything is downloaded onto your hard drive, you are still going to be able to go ahead and play your games, unlike PS Now, which needs a constant internet connection in order to go ahead and validate and restart any games that you decide to play. But the caveat, the catch is that, like I said, a lot of these are older titles, stuff that are pretty much showing up in the Xbox One backwards compatibility portion of the library. And also, let's say if you do decide to go ahead and if you don't have an internet connection or anything like that, it's not going to stay available for you indefinitely, okay? You'll have access to a game for up to 30 days if you decide to go ahead and basically, if you're on this subscription, until it lapses over before you're completely booted off, which admittedly is a grand change in comparison to a lot of other services. This one right here can potentially add a lot of things to Microsoft's already admittedly bleak future this year. It might be a turning point for them. I really don't know, which is the reason why we're going to go ahead and open up the phone right now. What do you guys think about this service? The timing, or what it might actually represent to people, especially folks who might have Xbox Ones, who don't have a lot to look forward to otherwise.
As the only residential Xbox One owner in this room, I guess I'll chime in first. In all honesty, I see no minus to this program. I mean, it's actually a brilliant idea for Microsoft to do, and it's reasonable. And from what I read through the announcement as well, is that you don't have to have a gold account to enjoy this. All you have to do is pay that $10 a month fee, and you have access to hundreds and hundreds of games. You know, not even being a gold member, that's definitely a plus in itself. And that what you said, Reverend, kind of brings up an interesting point. So let's say you deploy, especially in the military, you deploy out to Afghanistan and all these other places around the world to do your duty. And if you're on this program and you carry your Xbox One out there where there isn't any internet, how does Microsoft know when your 30-day is up without it? Because, they go on deployments for 6, 8, 10, year and a half at a time, to serve their country out there doing whatever. But so that's an interesting question for those that's in the military. Maybe that hasn't been brought up, yet. But for us back in the States that are not in the military, I think it's a good deal. It's worth the $10. You know, you don't have to have a gold account. So, you know, if you don't already have gold, that's another option. You know, just pay $10 a month, and you could have access to, you know, hundreds of old Xbox games off the 360. I think that's a great idea. But for those of us who has Xbox Live Gold that pays that $60 and tack another $10 onto that, it's just not my really cup of tea for that, because I think $60 is already too much to play that. But I could see it being enticing for other people. And then also, you know, it seems like Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, they're all starting, they're all steering slowly towards this digital-only age. And this is just another step towards it without us knowing. You know, in the previous videos that we've done about the frog sitting in the pot and they turn up the heat a little bit, the frog doesn't know that it's going to, you know, it's boiling. And that's what kind of concept that I'm getting from this as well. It's like, let's sweeten this deal up here, you know, and it's all digital only content. And people are like, oh yeah, that's great. But they're not really realizing what they're doing by, you know, I'm not saying that the big three are being scandalous. I mean, it's out there in your face. But there's other views that you should look at before you dive straight into this. What is this encouraging the big three to do for the future? So I monopolized enough of the time on this video. So go ahead, Theme. What's your thoughts on this?
Where do I begin with this? It seems that, okay, understood that they're not going to have like a big library as far as their current games. I understand that. So what is this? You pay $9.99 and you can download games to your console?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So you can download games to your console. So even though you download this game to your console, it's still going to have an expiration date on it, or a lock or something like that if your internet gets shut off or whatever. Okay.
You have access, according to the details, you have access for up to 30 days if you find yourself without a way to verify connection. Okay. And that's handled really easily. All they need is a little ID file that has a time date stamp on it that's sitting right there embedded in the downloadable files.
Okay.
So
fine. Now, the main thing about this is, I mean, people are going to jump on it just because, you know, $9.99 and you get a game library that's accessible to you.
A huge library.
Say again?
A huge library.
A huge library, okay. You know, library of games that are out or been out, so on. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not, I don't have many objections about it. But I am going to touch on what you touched on just now, Gray Mouse. They're trying to slowly, okay, they just got the tip in right now. As far as the digitalness. They're preparing, look. And I'm not all for that. I am not all for the whole digital age. As far as saying that, okay, because this is going to gear to a console that's going to come out, Microsoft's next console maybe, it's just going to be a pay-to-play type of thing. You have a console and you pay monthly and then you get access to games.
Well, one thing too is that I find very interesting is that, like, if you do this $10 a month thing, you can download that entire library the moment you pay that $10, and you could have that library as long as you up in that tent. So you could technically have 300 games for $10. But the other side of that is that they are older games. They're, you know, you're not going to get the latest and the greatest, that, you know, the next Call of Duty or whatever.
Well, you know what? that's fine.
I mean, that's a hell of a deal, to be quite honest. You're only paying $10 for 300 plus games. And I think what they're trying to do, this is just my opinion again, is that they're trying to give developers the money that they deserve, and the publishers, instead of having the GameStops and all these other, middleman guys taking all their used games money, is what I think this is going.
You know what? Every time I fucking hear that, every time I've read that in an article, and every time I've seen that, oh yeah, this gives money back to the fucking developers and the publishers because of this, I fucking laugh. I laugh my fucking ass off. All right, because look, like I said, I work in the developer. We put things out for iOS and Android. All right, and the cut that they take from any sort of in-app purchase or anything like that is easily 60%. Right off the fucking bat. Okay, you don't, if this is a reason why no microtransaction is less than 99 cents or $1, all right, is because every time they sell something for $1, guess what, Microsoft or Sony or anybody else, they get 60 cents right off the fucking bat. All right, Activision or whoever the hell it is, they get 40 cents. You know how much the developer gets out of that 40 cents? Maybe a dime. Okay, and whenever I hear this stuff, it just makes me laugh my ass off. Oh, it's going to bring the money back to the publishers and developers. No, it's not. It's just going to give Microsoft more money, all right? And it's a service that they're going to do, which is one criticism that I have, okay? Not that this service is a product of the devil, and I'm not going to claim that, okay? There's a few pros and cons that are going on here with the Xbox One, Game Pass. Now, you said that you don't need live. Well, you do need live if you're going to play multiplayer, okay? Because multiplayer and live, online multiplayer and live that's needed. You need a gold account for multiplayer.
To counter that argument is that most of the games that are on the backwards compatible game, the online version of that game is nobody's in those lobbies anymore. People's moved on. But I know where you're coming from.
If it's available and it's part of the service and it's part of the package, it has to be stated, all right, the caveat to that particular feature to that game, if you're looking at online multiplayer, okay? If it's on the Xbox One, also on the PS4 for that matter, is that if you want to play online multiplayer, doesn't matter if it's a legacy game or if it's a brand new AAA title, you're going to need that service, whether or not it's PlayStation Plus or a gold account on Xbox Live. Okay, that's number one. Just want to get that out of the way so people know that. Okay, the thing about this is that for $10, yes, you do have access to a lot of games. The other thing that it does give you is that, let's say you're scrolling through the titles and there's one that you find yourself playing a lot, and you think, hey, maybe this is one that I would like to own, even if it's just a digital copy. They also, when you go ahead and you purchase a game through the Xbox Game Pass, it's at a discounted price, all right? It's very similar to what GameFly does and a lot of other services do, where it's like, oh, hey, look, with GameFly, if I want a physical copy for a game and I rent it out and I'm like, hey, look, I really love this thing, I want to go ahead and I want to buy it, they're not going to sell it to me at a brand new price. They're going to sell it to me as a used price, because guess what? That game's probably been passed around at least through a couple of people before it's reached you. Okay.
I wasn't aware of that you could actually outright, within that program for $10, you could actually outright buy those games. As you could spend $20 or whatever it is on that game. Yeah. And actually that could be I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. That is one thing that's part of that program. Now, I think that's pretty cool for the for the purpose of preservation of games.
Yep.
Because the thing is that these are already older titles as it is.
Yep.
And the problem with it is that Microsoft isn't going to sit there and make a way for any of their PCs to pop in an Xbox 360 disc. Shit, they haven't even done it for the regular Xbox for you to go ahead and be able to play it right off the bat.
Yep.
All right. They're not going to do that. Those games, if they're limited to their physical releases, and yes, we all believe that physical media is king, but when it comes down to whether or not your game hardware is going to fail or the media is going to fail, one or the other is going to happen sooner or later. Okay,
Yep.
so having a digital access to these games is a good thing for preservation's sake. All right. My criticisms, though, my great big criticism is that people got a lot of fucking subscriptions out there. I mean, YouTube themselves, they just announced a brand new fucking subscription thing. All right. Now, the thing with this is that I think it's really cool that they're offering a lot, and it's not that bad as far as the subscription service goes. But let me cut to the quick. It's not enough to sit. It's not going to convince me to get an Xbox One. You know why? Because all the games I already care about, I still have my Xbox 360 and I still have my Xbox.
Yeah.
All right. I still have that stuff. Okay. And then all the other stuff that I may be curious about, I have a capable enough PC that I'm using right now to go ahead and do this. Now, if you're somebody who, I don't know, maybe you live out on your own, you don't have the biggest place to go ahead and live. You've got a laptop, or no, excuse me, you've got a MacBook. You're one of those assholes, okay? All right, it's a capable machine. You can do your work. You can go ahead and do lots of creative stuff. But guess what? There aren't fucking games on it that people want to go ahead and play. All right. So you got your MacBook, and let's say by chance you've got your 4K TV, and you say, hey, look, an Xbox Slim, an Xbox One S, is a great deal on a 4K Blu-ray player, and it just happens to play video games too. All right, you go ahead and you get that. $10 out in the month for this, yeah, you've got yourself access to a shitload of games. All right, but if you're somebody who's in my position, where I've got the classic consoles and I've got classic games still physically available to me, this sort of service does not interest me at all. What's going to interest me in getting an Xbox One is a game that I cannot find anyplace else that I give a fuck about, and this service does not fill that bill.
It's funny because I was going to go into that, because I'm going to be like, all right, look, what does this do for potentially new people, new customers, gamers that already have that shit and want new shit from Microsoft, from the Xbox brand? This does nothing for that, because even though it may be hundreds of games available on this thing, I mean, to me, it just seems like Microsoft is just used to going backwards and not worried about going forward in that aspect.
Well,
Even though some of these games that are on this list right now should have and could have sequels. I mean, come on. Oh, and one of your games, Gray Mouse, yeah, Viva Pinata is on that list.
It's not a surprise to me. Now, the way you guys are interpreting this is from a standpoint that you actually lived through the 360 lifespan. You have those games already via media, physical media. I think this is just my opinion. I think that this is more aimed towards people, the people who, we all know them, people who buy or who sell their old system, get the new system. B, people that are not familiar with Xbox in general. Maybe they completely missed the Xbox 360 run. I mean, there are people out there. There's people that were so stuck up Sony's butt or Nintendo's butt that they said, fuck Microsoft, fuck, Nintendo. But so that's where I think that this program's being aimed at. It's more aimed at those who don't have the physical copies of the 360 games on their shelf, but towards people that, because to me it's a waste, because I have most of those games on the list, the physical media over here.
For a rebuttal for that, I'm gonna go Don Matrix for it on you. You can just get a 360.
I'd have to say with this particular one, the reason why I brought up pros and cons is that with this particular service, this is not a catch-all service. This is not a cure-all for the woes of the Xbox 360, or excuse me, the Xbox One. The woes for the Xbox 360 was the fact that it red ringed and fucking services wouldn't change that no matter what the fuck you did. But you know, for the Xbox One and everything, like I said, it's in an interesting place where they're embedded enough in the industry where they need a reason. They need to give new consumers, a reason to go ahead and purchase their console. All right. And this can be used as that, but like everybody has pointed out here, there are people in various different positions as a gamer. Somebody who isn't so familiar. Maybe they're somebody who isn't a big fan of physical media. Maybe it's somebody who's gotten rid of all of their old stuff and they want to play a few select titles and stuff like that. Yep. This is one of those things where your mileage really will vary from person to person. Personally, in my view, it's cool and I see the upside to it, but it's not anything that's going to make me buy an Xbox One, you know? I mean, that's just me being honest about it, you know? And I think that's pretty fair to go ahead and wrap that up, you know, as far as our views on that particular one. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Like I said, this one is going to sit there, your mileage will vary. But that's not to say that it hasn't influenced other companies out there, because this can't be a coincidence. As we know, GameStop, probably your biggest retailer out there, dedicated for games, they make the majority of their money off of pre-owned games. Okay, they make actually upwards of around 80 to 90% of their profits off of their pre-owned market. Yeah. They definitely felt the ripples of this particular announcement that was sent out, because the day after Microsoft announced the Xbox Game Pass service, their stock dropped 8%, because it's another one of those things where they're like, this is gonna fuck with used gaming. Okay, myself, I don't think it's gonna affect them all that much. Okay, until the industry as a whole makes that huge paradigm shift where it's like, hey, grand majority, over 70% of the users are getting everything digitally. All right, until that happens, they're still gonna have a place in the market. I think their place is gonna change a little bit, but they're still gonna have a place in the market.
And absolutely, I agree 100% with that. But a lot of people are saying that brick and mortar stores such as GameStop and all the others are a dying breed. I mean, I read a couple articles, you know, on various game sites and stuff that were saying that Microsoft is trying to push that you know, trying to push that digital era that we're all dreading here.
They did it, tried to do it 4 years ago.
Yeah, and you know, and that brings up an interesting point. You know, just like what we said way back in 2000, you know, in our earlier or very early videos, is that Microsoft tried to fuck us back in 2013, and yeah, Microsoft did a 360 on a lot of the stuff for the Xbox One before it was released. However, people like us are wise enough to know that it was pushed off to the side. It was like, okay, you caught us this time. You know, and now how soon do we forget? You know, it's like, but
that's what I was just about to say. Wait a minute. Did they think that gamers just forgot, or gamers have died ever since then?
Oh, that's a whole nother topic right there, man.
Because look, I'm gonna tell you right now, these three middle-aged guys, these gamers have not. No. So for me, in order for me to get interested, they must look. I can understand that it's for people that want to go and play old games or games that they don't have in their library anymore. Like, for instance, if they gave up Banjo and Kazooie for their Nintendo 64, and if they don't already have it, they can actually get it through this service to play it. I totally understand that. It's already going to be $10 cheaper than PS Now, which is a big fucking advantage.
Yep.
But all they have to do is have the current games, or at least more new games to support on it.
Well, I mean, I think I can say this with greatest confidence that all Microsoft has to do to win you over thing is have 3 or 4 games on that system, and you be in line giving, shoving money in their face. Crimson Skies, Power Stone 3, Rival Schools 3. I mean, that's all they need to do.
The funniest thing is that neither of those were going to happen because 2 of them were by Capcom and 1 of them were by Microsoft Studios that is dead.
I think, in this particular instance, I can definitely say honestly that we, in this particular video, are not the folks that they're going to be marketing this service to. Okay, I do see the upsides of having this particular service. And guess what? There is actually an upside to it that's not part of the sinister plan to move everything to digital. Because when we address that, it's not just Microsoft doing that. The whole fucking industry is doing that. Okay,
Absolutely.
Everybody is moving toward that. So don't get it wrong. We're not sitting there singling out Microsoft for going ahead and wearing their intentions on their sleeve. Okay,
I'm only singling out Microsoft that they're not creating anything new in order for me to be interested in this console.
And that's the thing about it, is that they can't sit there and offer new games on this fucking service, and they're not going to. It's the same thing with PlayStation Now. If people are expecting to see stuff that's been released over the last 2 years, on this particular service, it's not going to happen because Microsoft still wants the licensing fees and profits from that $59.99 plus tax sale. Okay. Yep. And if you make that available on a $9.99 per month service, where somebody could turn around and buy it on a discounted premium later,
you're never ever gonna see that.
Yeah, it's not gonna fucking happen. No.
The only way that will work, the only thing that will actually work is this service ends up being $59.99. That day is coming. This and this is what I'm gonna go into before we end it. They will try that. They will try to have a service like this for $59.99 on top of your Xbox Live, on top of your PlayStation Now, on top of your Nintendo service. They will jack up the price to equal to you buying a game every fucking month. And people will be like, oh, that's cool. That's like me buying the game every month. Then why don't you just fucking buy the games every month? It will get to a point where it won't probably be $60, but it probably will be a big increase to at least half of that.
Let me put this in a different perspective. Right now, Microsoft is leading this program with $10. Then you got PlayStation Now, which is $30. Correct me if I'm wrong.
20.
Or 20. Okay, and then Nintendo's service.
They don't have one established just yet, but things that are comparable to it. You have EA Access, which I think is like $12 per month. All right, per user, and then you have access to all of the EA titles. Ubisoft has a similar program through Uplay, and then there are a myriad of other subscription services that are out there. If you have a GameFly account, guess what? I think for 2 titles out per month, it's something like $14.99.
Yep.
Okay, and all of them work, similar to each other. Generally speaking, though, with this. For the time being, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not going to sit there and shit all over the idea. I think in this particular instance, in the parameters that they're offering it to people right now, it actually has a lot more pros than it does cons.
Absolutely.
But like I said earlier in this particular video, your mileage is going to vary. The type of folks that they're marketing this for and that they want to adopt this service is not us, because guess what? We're not the folks who care to adopt this service.
But the thing is, though, I want to make sure that everybody understands we're not against this. We're all three of us. We're not against this. Is good. Option. How many times have we said this in our videos? Options is one of the best things to have. If this service fits you in your lifestyle or what your mileage, like the Reverend said, by all means, do it. But as for us three right here, we have our Xbox 360 collection sitting on our shelf. So I have no interest in this, but I'm glad.
Not only that, again, I have Banjo-Kazooie already.
Yep.
Since before Microsoft, so.
Yep.
Because that's one of the games on this list as of right now. Like Perfect Dark Zero. Does anyone really want to play that again?
There might be some.
Well, let's be honest.
There might
are not top notch as far as them being, quote unquote, at least borderline classic or whatever, then I don't think that the interest level is going to be that high, because Perfect Dark Zero, you know, that licked a couple of balls.
Well, again, like I said, you know, as far as the market that they're shooting for, we're not part of it. So at that level, we have to recognize that a lot of the stuff that's being offered right now, even if we were interested, or if it was like a title that we were interested in, we're probably not part of that demographic, which is just us being honest. Okay. What we would really want to know is, what are your thoughts on this particular service, folks? If you've been watching the video all the way up until this point, thank you very much for following along. But leave us a comment below. Tell us what you think about the Xbox Game Pass, what you think it might mean to gamers as a whole, and what you might think it might mean to not just used games, but physical games. Because my whole fear at the end of this is that, you know, there have actually been games that have come out and have actually ran reprint runs, okay, which was unheard of just a few years ago. All right, there are games that companies have actually picked up and they've reprinted and they've redone runs for old consoles and old titles and stuff like that. If everything moves to digital and all of that, you know, if you're somebody who's into physical media like myself, that shit is going to get expensive and scarce. But the other thing too is that, you know, when services go down, and services will go down, where does that really leave you?
That leaves you without playing that particular game that you want to play.
Yep. Well, you know what it leaves you? It leaves you with a Microsoft penis all the way up inside your anus, receiving an Xbox Live Gold cream pie. Okay, wondering what the fuck is going on is where it leaves you. All right.
Hey, wait, at least that's better than a Sony situation. If you're playing PS Now and your internet goes down,
yeah,
you don't even get to come in that situation.
I was
But
gonna say, you don't get a reach around, man.
Yeah, that's another subject altogether. We're going to go ahead and bring this one to a close, folks. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you're so kind, hit that like button, leave us a comment below, hit subscribe while you're at it. We really appreciate it. Our bullshit on the Xbox Game Pass service and how it's affecting games going forward ends right here at this moment. I'm the Reverend.
The theme here.
Grandma's one.
Once again, for the benefits of common sense logic in gaming. It sounds awfully like EA and NFL shit that Microsoft is. Don't let it be that. Credits.